everyone, this is Rosa Kelly. So I'm here with a new mini album tutorial for JS Hobbies and Crafts. For this mini album, I'm going to be using the Heartfelt Creations Floral Fashionista collection, which is one of their newest and absolutely beautiful collection. And then I'm also going to be using some of the Lush Lilac flower stamps and matching die cuts, and also these frame card leafy borders which look amazing. I can't wait to try those dies. And so what we're going to be making is an endless mini album, endless interaction, and I name it that because I plan it to be full of hidden pages, so you kind of think that it's done but it's not. I don't know, I just have that idea on my head, so I hope that you guys follow along. We're also going to be using some art glitter glue, some score tape, some Tyvek to reinforce our pages. I want to make sure that our pages are strong and secure because we are going to have lots of interaction and the album might get a little heavy. I'm going to be using 110-pound premium cardstock, also from JS Hobbies and Crafts, and I will link all the supplies down below. So we're also going to be using some medium weight chipboard, and for embellishment I will be using these gorgeous lilac flowers, and again I'm gonna link everything down below. For embellishments, these amazing butterflies and some trims here, as you can see. So let's get started. So this album is going to be a large one. I'm going to make a 9x7, and so the first thing we're gonna do is cut our chipboard at 7. And I do like to cut it both ways. Okay, so then we're gonna do by 9, just like that, and turn this around again and cut this. Now, as you recall, I did a poll on you guys' opinion on what kind of album you wanted to see next, and a lot of you say the endless mini album, which is probably it was gonna be my choice too, so I'm happy that you guys chose that one. And then a lot of you wanted a larger album, so I'm doing both. I'm gonna do a 9x7 endless type of mini album, and by endless I mean lots of interaction. So I think it's gonna be super fun, and I could probably just add a few different waterfall ideas so you guys can incorporate these ideas into many other projects that you have, such as journals and things like that. Now I'm gonna cut another piece of 9 by 3. So let me just turn this around, do this again here at 9. And I'm gonna do it by 3. I'm only gonna do 3 signatures for this album because I want to make sure that the binding is strong enough to hold all the interaction that we're gonna do. So when we add a lot of interaction to our albums, you always want to be mindful that the pages are gonna get heavy, and we're also gonna add pictures. So I'm gonna show you a way to make your hinge system a little bit stronger, and then we're gonna minimize the weight on the whole album by only doing 3 signature pages. So I have my 3 pieces here, front, spine, and back, and I'm gonna bind them together using my Tyvek. Tyvek always adds a lot of strength to your spine, so when we do a heavy album like this, I highly suggest that you use some of this material, just so your album will last longer. So I'm just opening this in 2. This is an envelope, so see if I can just detach this. Maybe I'll just cut it and just like that. It doesn't have to be straight or perfect or anything like that. So what I'm gonna do is just put this on the bottom. We're gonna add this here and add this like so. Now we can bind this using our glitter glue. You can also use your score tape if you like. See if this is coming out. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna place this right on the center, just like so. And now I'm gonna place this one, but I'm actually going to just put my glue on the Tyvek. So now I'm just gonna leave a little gap in between these two. Okay, just like that. And the gap's about 1/8 of an inch. if you don't know exactly how much to leave on, then you kind of just put two of the chipboard pieces. You kind of just grab your scraps like this and just kind of make sure that two will fit in there, and that should be about the width of the gap that you want to leave. So I usually just eyeball it like this, as you can see. And here we go. Make sure these are even. If you are worried about not lining it up correctly, always use a ruler to help yourself, and that way they'll be nice and even. And that's why it's also good to do this step with the glue, so you have a little bit of time to adjust everything. So now I'm gonna take these out and I'm gonna give it a second to dry, and then I'm just gonna trim the excess of the Tyvek. Okay, so now these are dry enough, so I can just come back here and trim the extras. So now I'm gonna use 2 pieces of cardstock, and this is just the regular weight. And I like using regular weight for my binding because I feel that, or for my experience, the 110 pound kind of cracks when you bend it too much on, you know, for your binding. So I prefer using the lighter weight cardstock for this step. So I'm gonna join these two together just like that, and then I'm gonna place this whole piece with the Tyvek and everything onto my cardstock. Now I do like to center it and make sure that the join is right on the center of my spine. Make sure you never put it right where you're gonna bend, otherwise it's going to open as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down, and then I can go ahead and trim the sides a little bit here. Okay, so I'm just gonna use my glue for this step, and what I love about this glue is that it won't wrinkle your paper and it won't wrap your paper, so it will dry very neat. It will look very neat on your cover too. So I'm just gonna apply a lot of glue and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I have all my glue and I'm just gonna place this down on the center. Like I said, I want to center the join of the 2 pages with the center of the spine, and now we're just gonna place this down like so, and then I'm just gonna bend gently on the sides like this. I'm gonna do the same for all 4 sides, and I'm also gonna trim here a little bit. Like I said, you want about 1 inch, so this is probably a little bit too much to have on the side. So I'm gonna trim 1 and 2. There we go. And it doesn't have to be super straight because we are gonna cover this part. So now I'm just gonna bend all the sides in like this. Okay. Then you want to make sure it's really pressed down, so I'm gonna use this over here to help me. Okay, for both sides, and then also we're gonna do the sides as well. 1 and this one here. Oops. Okay, here we go. So now the next thing we're gonna do is just trim on the corners. And if you have followed my tutorials, you probably are skipping this part, which is totally okay. The binding that I do, it's usually always the same, unless I'm using fabric. So here we go. So now you can use your score tape to add this in, and I like doing score tape for this step so we don't have to wait for the glue to dry, and we make sure it's down fast. So I'm gonna use the tape down there. Let me peel it off, and then I'm gonna also use the glue on this part so it won't bubble up. Okay, so let me do the long sides first, just like that. And then we're gonna do these sides. So I'm just gonna put my tape here, and make sure before you glue this down, let's just bend it and tuck the little corners in so they're not pointing out on your album. And then I'm gonna peel off the tape, see if I can do it with my nails. And again, I'm gonna add just a little bit more of the glue on this side. And here we go. And now I'm just gonna do the same on the other side. So now that we have the 4 sides in, I'm gonna go back with my little score tool. I'm just using this, so you can use your ruler as well. And I'm just gonna bend the sides in, just like so. And now we're gonna work on our hinges. For the hinges, I'm gonna use the lightweight cardstock again, and I'm gonna cut it at 8.5. So this is gonna measure 8.5 by 12. Okay, so I'm going to score along the 12-inch side at 2, just like this. Then I'm going to score at 3 and 4, and I'm making my hinges extra wide to hold the pages better, because my pages are going to be a little bit heavier than usual. Then I'm gonna do a 3/4 inch for my gusset, so I'm gonna score at 4 3/4, and I'm gonna try to have all these numbers on the screen somewhere so you guys can follow along easily. So then I'm gonna score at 5 3/4 and 6 3/4, and that's our second hinge. And then we're gonna score at 7.5. I'm doing 2 times here, and then 8.5 and 9.5. Okay, so we have our 3 hinges. So now I'm gonna fold these ones along here. The 2 1 inches go together. Then I'm gonna skip on the 3/4 inch, and I'm gonna put the next 2 1 inches together. And the same thing here, the next 2 of these 1 inches together. So we are gonna have a large hinge like this, and there are only 3 hinges for this album. So now I'm gonna press this really hard, just like that. Let me move this out of the way. So now we're gonna go on the back here, open this up again, and then I'm gonna join these 2 together here. So for that, I'm just gonna be using my score tape. Now my score tape is the 3/8 of an inch, and that's okay. If you have a bigger one, you can definitely use it here as well. So let me go ahead and grab my little hook to help me remove this. So we're gonna take that one off and join these 2 together. Press it really hard. Then we do the same thing here. If your score tape is smaller than your hinge, make sure you place it along the bottom of the 1 inch. So when you close it, this stays shut like this. Okay, I hope that makes a little sense. So now I'm gonna take this out again and put these 2 together, and then we do this one more time, just like so. There we go. And take off my hinge and join these 2 together, just like so. Okay, so now I'm gonna send up my hinges like this. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to put more of our double-sided tape on the hinge. Now let's make sure, so for these, this measures an inch, so you're gonna leave about 1/4 closest to the spine without any tape, and then I'm gonna add the tape kind of like in the center, and I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Okay, so I have it on both sides. Now because my tape was not wide enough, I'm gonna go ahead and add a second stripe of tape here on top, just so I can complete the whole hinge like this. And so I'm just doing one to show you, but I actually will prefer to remove the first tape before you add the second tape on top. So this is why I just added one, and then once I'm ready to peel it off, I'll add the second one. So for now, let's go ahead and add some glue here. So now I'm gonna add my glue on the back here. I'm just gonna add a gentle amount everywhere, and particularly you want to make sure the corners and the top and bottom are fully covered with glue. So then I'm just gonna open this up, and I'm gonna make sure that my 3 hinges here are going to be centered to the spine, just like this. And then we're also going to be centered up and down. Okay, so I like to press in between here, just like that. Okay, so I let this dry for a little bit. So now you're gonna notice on your spine here that you have that bend for, you know, where your page bends. So I'm gonna kind of feel where that is, and I'm gonna use a ruler, and I'm gonna feel where the bottom is, and I'm just gonna gently mark here like so, so I can bend it, and it will bend exactly where we need it, just like that. So I'd rather do that instead of doing this score line ahead of time, because sometimes it doesn't match and it doesn't look clean at the end when you put it all together. So then I'm gonna do this one here as well. Again, I can feel here where it starts and where it ends, and I'm just gonna gently press, and then I'm gonna use my ruler here to help me bend this page as well. So now our base is completed. So what I'm gonna do next is just work on the 3 base pages, and then we're gonna work one at a time on the interaction. So for the main construction of the pages, we're gonna be using the 110-pound cardstock. So I'm gonna cut 3 pieces of 6 1/4 by 8 3/4. Okay, so we will need 3 of that, and we're also going to need 3 pieces of 6 1/4 by 9 3/4. Okay, so now I'm gonna score the larger piece, the one that measures 6 1/4 by 9 3/4, at a 1/2 inch and at 9 1/4. Okay, or you could score at 1/2 inch, and then you can turn this around and score at 1/2 inch again. So we do that for these 3 sheets. Then we're gonna fold along the score line, just like that, and then we're gonna use our 3/8 of an inch score tape and just place it right on this little flap that we did, and you'll find out that the size of this tape, the 3/8 inch, fits perfectly on this little 1/2 inch flap. It's not it's kind of perfect, because if you're using the 1/2 inch tape, it kind of overlaps a little bit, so you have to end up trimming it. So this is why I love using this size. All right, so now we have tape on both of our flaps, and we're gonna use the other sheet that we cut, the one that measures 6 1/4 by 8 3/4, and I'm gonna place this on top. I'm actually gonna use my little hook and peel off just a bit of the tape to the side, like I always do. Kind of leave that ready there, and then I'm going to make sure these are aligned to the side and the bottom as best as you can. Then we're gonna hold it, press here on the sticky side, hold the center so it won't bubble up, and peel the tape off. Then we flip it and do kind of the same thing this side. It's a little bit easier to do. And here we go. Okay, so now we have our 3 pages ready and we can start working on some interaction, and we're going to be working on each one separately before we add it into our outfit. For the first page, I'm going to use 2 sheets of 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to trim these at 5.5, just like so. So we have 4 pieces. I'm gonna grab a second sheet and I'm gonna cut this one at 6.25 by 9.5. Okay, so we have 1 large piece and 4 smaller ones. Now I'm gonna grab my scoreboard and I'm gonna start with this large piece here. So along the 9.5 inch side, like this, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch and at 1/4. Okay, so you're scoring at 1/2 and 3/4 actually. Okay, so we're gonna fold along the score lines. I have 1 and 2, and this is going to stand like this. So this is gonna provide us a little gusset here on the top, and on the flap that measures 1/2 inch, we are going to add our score tape, just like this. Okay, so this is piece number 1. Now I'm gonna grab the other 4 that we did. Okay, and now these ones measure 8.5 by 5.5. So we're gonna score these ones at 1/2 inch on one of the sides. So I'm gonna do the same to all 4 of these. And now we're gonna fold along the score line again, just like this. Make sure you press that really hard. And we're gonna use our score tape on this flap as well. Okay, so we'll do the same on all of these ones. So now we have all the pieces to build the first page, and I'm gonna start with the large one that we did first. So I'm gonna fold this flat. So we have a 1/4 inch here for the gusset on this page, but I'm just going to lay it flat first so it's easier to add to our page. So I'm just gonna make sure these 2 match along the top like this, and now I'm going to remove the tape. Okay, now I'm gonna open these up like so, and I'm gonna use the ones that measure 5.5 by 8.5, and then you'll see that these are smaller than the page, and the reason for that is so we can allow for these to bend easily. Okay, that's why these measure 8.5. Now I'm going to peel off a bit of the tape here on the side, and I'm gonna lay this flat against the left side. Okay, so you want to make sure these are kind of centered up and down, and we remove that tape like so. Then we're gonna do the same one more time here. Right on top of this one, we place another one, just like so. Peel off the tape, and now we're gonna open this up and do the same on the right side. So again, I'm taking off a little bit of the tape. Now this one will go like this. Make sure these will kind of line up to the ones on the left, or you can just make sure that it's centered up and down, and it should be the same. But if you want to double check, you can always close this up and make sure you're on the same level down here. Okay, so I think I am. So I'm gonna hold the sticky side and remove the tape, and then I will do the same on this one. So this time I'm going to take the tape from here. That way it goes on the top. So we'll place it right on top of the one we just did. Just like that. And remove the tape. So now we have a little interactive page like this. And all of that has this page here. And we accommodated with a 1/4 inch gusset. So when we add the paper on the inside, on both sides, and we add pictures, we have plenty of room to expand. And now what I'm gonna do here on this front, I'm gonna add a little pocket. I'm gonna use another piece of cardstock here, and I'm going to cut this at 4 inches by 7 1/4. Okay, 4 by 7 I'm going to score along the 7 1/4 inch at 1/2 inch, and then I'm gonna flip this and do 1/2 inch as well, and 1/2 inch again. So we're creating a little pocket. I'm going to trim the corner like so, just like that. And then because I want the pages to match the beautiful dies that I'm using, as you know, I'm going to be using these beautiful leafy borders. I'm going to be also using this EK Success punch to create a leafy type of border around my page. And what I love about EK Success punches is that you can actually punch through 110-pound cardstock. I have my pretty border here. So now I'm just gonna fold along the score lines, and then I'm going to put my double-sided tape. So now I peel off the tape, and we are gonna place this right along the bottom. Make sure you match the corners. Now if you are more a beginner, then you can use glue instead. That way you have a little bit more time to adjust your pocket where you want it to sit, because tape is kind of, once you put it down, it's really hard to relocate. So here we go. So we have our first page. It opens up like that, and then we have this little interaction on the back. So we're going to be covering the paper at the end. I always, once I'm in the mood for designing pages, I just love to go with the flow. So we're going to turn this around and work on page number 2. And as you can see, we already have a pretty heavy page, and this is why I wanted my gussets to be 1 inch here, or not my gusset, but my hinges, so it can really get a hold of the page. Okay, so now we're gonna work on page 2. So for that, I'm gonna use some heavyweight cardstock again, and I'm gonna cut 4 pieces of 6 1/4 by 6 3/4. Okay, and now I'm gonna score 1/2 inch along the 6 3/4 inch side. So I'm gonna do the same for all 4 of these. So along the 6 3/4, I do 1/2 inch. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to fold along the score lines and add my double-sided tape. So then I'm gonna grab 2, and I'm gonna put them on the top and the bottom of the page. So I'm gonna do 1 along the top here. So I have the top and bottom. And now for the other 2, I am actually going to take off just a tiny bit on the side here, just about 1/8 of an inch. Just that way they can close without overlapping. So I'm gonna do the same for both. Just a tiny bit out, okay? And now I'm going to open these 2 up, and we're gonna place these ones on the side here. So let me take off some tape, and I'm gonna put one on towards the top, not exactly touching the top, just towards the top a bit. And then I'm gonna open this one up, and I'm going to place this one towards the bottom. on the right side. Again, not touching the score line. Just like this. And the reason why we took out a little bit here, it's the way they're not touching, so they're easy to close. So now we have this other page. And so after we add the design paper, we're gonna be adding this to the spine. So I'm gonna leave this until the end here. I think we are going to stop for part 1 of this tutorial, and then I'll be back with part 2. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out JS Hobbies and Crafts, where you can find all the supplies to make this mini album, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.